Robin Roberts, welcome to Biscuits and Jam.
I love the name, Sid. That's a perfect name. Love it. Thank you.
It's great to have you on. And I've got to ask real quick. So, we're in the middle of March Madness, of course,
Mhm.
and I'm talking to a legendary basketball player. So, before we do anything else, I'm just wondering if you could tell me who your picks were for the men and the women.
Let me just say, the older I get, the better I was, Sid. The older I get, the better I was. I really thought that UConn was going to surprise some folks. The UConn men were going to surprise some folks and at least make it to the Final Four, but they got knocked out. I'm Duke. I still have Duke for the men. The winner between USC and Connecticut, because they're going to meet up before getting to the championship game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would love to see Connecticut. I am a Southern Belle. Don't forget me. Don't you know? Don't. I am, but I've been living in Connecticut for a number of years, so I'm a little partial to them. So I'm going to Connecticut women and the Duke men. How's that?
And what about LSU? Is that, do you have a connection to LSU?
Oh, I should be talking about Ole Miss.
Yeah, okay.
Woo! Ole Miss women. That was a big win. I'm very, very happy to see them back in the Sweet 16. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Kim Mulkey. That girl's a trip. That's my girl. I know we go back too far. She was at Hammond High School.
Okay, Hammond, Louisiana. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we know each other very well. You can never count out a Kim Mulkey team. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm glad I'm not betting against you in my pool.
Good. How do you have a pool? Have you? How's your bracket? Is it busted?
I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. We have a pretty heated pool around here at Southern Living.
Mm.
And it's funny, the kids, it's like the next generation that end up taking over the pool, and they take all the money.
That's how it is.
So, Robin, you're from Pass Christian, Mississippi, and I'm wondering if you can paint a picture for me of the house and the neighborhood where you grew up.
Wow, gonna get me misty-eyed. It was a quintessential hometown that you'd want to grow up in. We had barely 100 in our graduating class. That was the biggest one they've had in years at the time. The home, a brick home, and what was very special, my dad was in the Air Force, and so we bounced around not just the country, but the world. We had been living in Izmir, Turkey before we moved to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, and then when Daddy retired, we got to choose where to live, and we chose Pass Christian, Mississippi. Of all the places in the world that we'd lived, that's where we wanted to make our home. And so to have that brick house, 2-car garage, basketball goal out front, got to have that. And it was just I'm just so, we still, and you know what, we still have that home. It got severely damaged after Katrina. It's a 2-story home, and the first floor was completely demolished, and so we had to rebuild. But it's still the Roberts family home there in the past, and I'm so proud of it.
Do you still have family
Yeah,
down there?
yeah. My sister's living in the house.
Oh, your sister's in the house. Okay.
In the
Yeah.
house. She's going through a little something, something. So that's a house that when people are going, when someone in the family is going through something, just move on home. But because normally it would just be there when I would come home for holidays and occasion. But yeah, I have a sister living there. I have a sister in New Orleans on the Gulf Coast there, and a brother in Houston. So we are all down. We're true Southern living.
Yeah. I know you are through and through. Um, your father, as you mentioned, he was a Tuskegee Airman, which is an extraordinary thing to have done, and such a remarkable group of people.
Mm.
Um, they uh, fought during World War II. Talk to me about your dad and your relationship with him.
Thank you for asking, Sid. I was a daddy's girl. Yeah, and he was a good. He was a great father, great husband, great patriot. My dad grew up in New Jersey, dreaming of being a pilot one day. He would take a sawed-off broomstick handle, go down to his basement, and pretend it was his throttle that he was flying. And he made it to the military. He was actually where he met my mama at Howard University, and then World War II. and you had to be invited to be a part of what was considered the Tuskegee experiment. And his mama went to the local politician who she worked for, helped get elected, and said, "My son, he wants to be a pilot." And so he got on a train and went down to Alabama, and their flying record was impeccable. They were really embraced by fellow um, aviators who, at one point, really wanted them to escort them in the battle because that's what the Tuskegee Airmen escorted the bombers and different aircraft into battle in
That
World
was
War.
their role. Hmm.
That was their role. And they had a really one of the best records in military history of escorting their planes. And Daddy was very proud to be a part of Tuskegee Airmen, and went to many of their conventions over the years, and even did a show, Good Morning America. They said, "Okay, fantasy, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to fly a plane like my daddy did in World War II." I think they found the plane my daddy flew in World War. This little rickety plane comes down the runway in Moton Field, and, and I get behind it.
I
Uh,
saw that episode. That took a little bit of nerve to get up in that thing.
yeah, but
Yeah.
my daddy was still with us at the time, and it really meant a lot just to kind of just bring attention to their sacrifice, at all for that special generation, very special generation, World War II vets.
Did he ever take you up?
Oh yeah, because he had a private plane, and I remember my mama was a little nervous because if this didn't work out, the broadcasting didn't work out, I wanted to be a pilot. That was my plan B. So Daddy would get some old planes that he'd put back together, and he would take me up. But it's just there's just something about being a pilot, and that's a very special breed. I didn't quite have that, but it's still on my bucket list to get my pilot's license.
Someday.
Someday. Gotta keep something on the list, right? Don't wanna check it all off.
Did uh, the family of Tuskegee Airmen, I mean, you grew up around them. I'm wondering if that felt in any way like an extended family to you.
It did, I was born in Tuskegee. Years later, my dad went back as an instructor, and I was born in Tuskegee years later after he had been an airman there. And going around at the conventions, though, I gotta tell you, Sid, the stories got longer and longer, the tales got a little they kinda embellished them over the years, but you know what? They were allowed. They were allowed. But there was a real sense of community, among the families, and even to this day, when you see somebody else, I have some, colleagues, their parents fathers were also, Tuskegee Airmen, and there is a certain bond that we share.
Robin, I want to ask you about your mom. You grew up with three siblings, so there were a lot of mouths to feed. And, I know your mom, Lucy Marion Roberts, was an incredibly accomplished career woman. But I'm wondering, was she doing all the cooking too?
That's a myth. Not all Southern women cook. Mama said the best thing she could make was a reservation, okay? And she made a doggone good reservation. She was a good cook. She was a good cook, but she had to put her life pretty much on hold while Daddy was traveling and we were bouncing. I think she had to make 20 some different homes over the years because we kept being, transferred from this place to the next. And then when I, the youngest of the four, went off to college at Southeastern Louisiana, my mama looked up to the heavens and said, "Lord, I know you have something more in mind for me." And that is when she became this career woman. I mean, she was on the State Board of Education in Mississippi, of which she became the chair, the Coliseum Commission, Federal Reserve, the list goes on and on and on. But I tell you what, she said that she could have dinner on the table in 30 minutes. It'd either be undercooked or burnt, but we were going to have something on that table in 20 minutes, not even 30 minutes. But she did. But she had these signature dishes. She made these collard greens. I mean, I have two sisters and a brother. We fought over the cast iron pot that she used to cook in because it had you didn't have to put any seasoning in it. She had used it so often that it already had seasoning right in the pot. But she was a great entertainer, and I tell you what, where she lacked, I wouldn't say lacked, uh, she, how do I say this? She was a great hostess. Presentation was everything with her. She just really made every house a home. We used to eat by candlelight every single night, and I thought every kid in America was eating by candlelight. The mama said the years later it was because the military housing was so dingy that she didn't want the lights up at dinner, and it made it more romantic. But that's what my mama was. She found ways to really just make that to elevate everything about our household.
She
You
could
know,
add a little magic.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. What was your mama's signature dish?
Oh gosh, my mom's signature dish.
Uh-huh.
She's got she's got a lot of them.
Ah,
I would say like an oyster casserole. She loves that. So
oh, now that's
at
cooking.
the holidays, yeah, yep.
Wow.
She can make anything. She can make soups I mean, really, I don't know anything. But she is also a pianist. She's a musician. So, and I know that that's something that was a huge part of your mom's life.
Excellent segue. That was that you are a pro. That was a good segue. Yes, yes. In fact, our home in Mississippi in the past still have a mama's piano there. Still some of her music, the hymn books that are still there on the piano. And she just really, I mean, I cannot remember what I love Sunday mornings. I love smelling bacon, cooking, pancakes, and mama then at the piano before we'd go to church. I always remember music in our home. I always remember that. And at Howard University, she was in the choral group there and traveled a bit. But music was very, very much hearing Mahalia Jackson playing on the hi-fi or Wi-Fi, what not Wi-Fi, hi-fi that we had. I'm really grateful that we had the music, that we had gospel, that was really very much a part of our home, and it's very soothing to this day just to think about it.
Seems like there was such a strong connection between music and faith for your mom.
Mm.
And I was looking at her book, My Story, My Song, and she said right at the very beginning, she said the piano bench is where I come to meet with God.
Oh, you did read it.
And I thought, what a wonderful
Yeah.
idea, and what a powerful thing to say. Tell me a little bit more about that connection between music and faith for your mom.
This is my story. This is my song. It's perfect title for her book based on the hymn. My mother, she had health issues throughout her life and came from a very, very, very humble upbringing. Her dad was an alcoholic. He was clean by the time we came along, the grandkids came along. But she had a really tough upbringing. A lot of love, a lot of love, but just very challenging as far as finances and other things.
And the Great Depression, right?
Yeah, and so music and her faith, and my grandma Sally, her mother, was and she has pastors from we have in relatives going back. Her grandfather was a pastor, so it came very naturally to her. But she was a very strong woman, and her faith got her through it. I mean, she had arthritis, and she called it Arthur for much of her life. And so she was always in quite a bit of pain, but you wouldn't know it. And nothing made her feel better than when she was sitting down on that piano bench and she could just play Sid, oh my goodness, and her voice like an angel. And it was really very soothing for her. In fact, my mom and dad helped start what was called soul service at Keesler Air Force Base. When you're in the military, you're either Catholic, Protestant, or Jewish. That was you didn't go into anything other than those three basic religions. And so there were a lot of airmen and airwomen who were from different parts of the country who wanted more of a gospel. And so my parents were able to start a soul service on Sunday evenings and the soul choir, and which my mother and my sister were a part of. So it was just wonderful to have that be a cornerstone of our lives, the music, and how I just saw how it really really soothed her. Oh, and my brother and my sister coming out in May, a book about Mama. It's called Lucy Grew Up on Lucy Street,
Oh,
and
that's great.
it's a children's book. It's a children's book based on my mom, and we're very excited about that.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah,
great. Well, what a remarkable woman.
thank you.
Was there a hymn in particular that stands out for you? One that she used to sing that was really a favorite of yours?
Well, that's from her book. This is my don't make me sing, but this is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. That was it, and that's why her book was named that. But and even Daddy was he was very quiet, but very spiritual, and he loved Amazing Grace. And oh, how great thou art! And we played that at his homegoing service. One of his buddies sang that, and it was I can still hear Christopher Moore singing that. So a number of hymns are very dear to us.
Faith has been such an important part of your journey, and it's gotten you through so many things. And obviously, it was a huge part of your growing up, and you got a lot of that from your parents. Um, I'm wondering where it really kind of started for you personally, your own faith. Was there a moment? Was there a time when it kind of went from being your parents' thing to this is
Wow.
my own thing?
Ooh, that's a good one, Sid. Thank you. Oh, wow. You know what? Because, as a child, we had to go to church. I remember that. If you didn't go to church, you couldn't play on Sunday. Um, and I remember when I became an adult and I started off in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and then Biloxi, Mississippi. And then when I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, it was like the first time I was really moving away from home because I went to college in the area. And I joined a church, and it's like it was my choice. It wasn't my parents making me join a church. Because I was away from home, I wanted an extended family. And that really said something to me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have to do this." And when I moved to Connecticut, and which I'm still a member of the First Presbyterian of Hartford, and it was knowing that I was making the choice and wasn't being told to do it. But my faith was really challenged when I started having some health issues. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007, I was 46 at the time. And I remember my faith was wavering a bit. And Mama was still with me. My father had passed away a short time before that in 2004, excuse me. And and Mama, she said some brilliant things to me. Sid, she was like, "You can get angry, just don't stay angry at God." And it was like I was like, and she really throughout not just my childhood, but my adult life when I was still growing in my faith. And I love how you said how when it became part of me, not something that I was told to do, but how I just naturally became more I don't say religious, but I'm very spiritual. I have a morning message and prayer that I start every day with, and that people look to. And there was a time that you didn't do that. You didn't say God. You couldn't even say His name, much less do a whole message and prayer. But I'm very comfortable because you know what? People understand by watching me, it comes from the heart. I'm not trying to convince anybody to be like me or to do what I'm doing. I just have been so incredibly blessed, and there have been so many angels in my life, and so many people who have seen something in me. And I just like to do what people have done for me and make sure that people are living their best possible life,
Mm.
that there are going to be hardships. Like the lesson today was about we're in a waiting season and how we get really, like, and I said, God's delays are not his denials, especially when you're younger, you want it right now. But how the lessons that I've learned, I thank you for the trials. I thank you for the closed doors as well as the open doors.
Mm.
And just having that faith, but it really started, the seed was planted by my parents. And they they watch me water that seed. They didn't do it. They saw because of what they planted in me. Um, and I'm still on that. I'm still in that journey of the process of learning more and more, and sharing more and more.
We're all on the journey, aren't we?
Amen. Amen to that.
All right, Robin, I want to do something fun real quick, and this is something we call the jam session.
I love these names. Okay.
All right, just a few quick questions. Don't think about it too much.
That's not hard to do. I don't think that hard anyway. Okay, what do you got? Bring it.
Sweet or unsweet?
Sweet tea. Come on.
Biscuits or cornbread?
Biscuits.
Gumbo or jambalaya?
Gumbo. You didn't even have to say whatever was coming up. Gumbo. That's the first thing I get when I go home. Okay.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Popeyes. Please. Give me something hard.
Okay, my glam fam would tell you that my favorite music right now is blank.
Oh, they would say my favorite music right now because I just got finished Gloria Gaynor because
Okay.
I just did that to her movie, and so I'm just all about. And she's got some new music as well, and a great gospel album. Gloria has.
That's great. All right, when it comes to Southern food, blank is my weakness.
Oh, gosh, everything is my weakness. I was a good 25 pounds heavier when I when I lived down south, and I was happy with if we could fry water, if we could find a way to fry water, we would do that. But my real weakness, the shrimp po' boys from Pirates Cove in my hometown. Oh my gosh! I mean, they're just the rumble. They're just dripping, and it's my weakness.
And yeah, not good for you in any way, but good for the soul.
Good for the soul.
The perfect tailgate food when I'm watching a big game is blank.
Oh my gosh! Nachos. Is that okay?
Oh, of course it is.
All right. I love it, and don't take the nucleus. You know, there's always that nucleus nacho that has all the cheese and everything. Honor the nucleus. Work around it.
The best bar in Key West is blank.
The best bar in Key West is the Rum Bar on Duval Street.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I was just there about 24 hours ago, telling it myself.
The most Southern thing about me is blank.
The most southern thing about me is my spirit.
I love
The
that.
most southern thing about me is my spirit. There's just something about the southern spirit. Yeah.
Robin, thanks for playing the jam session. I want to talk about these hurricanes
Yes.
that have been tormenting the South for so many years. And Hurricane Katrina, 2005, so it's going to be the 20th anniversary of that storm. And your mom was in New Orleans when that happened, or close to New Orleans, correct?
You know, in Biloxi. She was in
Biloxi. I'm just wondering if you can talk quickly about that experience, and having been through that, how it kind of changed you when you think about hurricanes and what people are going through.
Bless your heart, my friend. Oh boy, that was 2005, August. And I had been named the third anchor of Good Morning America with Charlie Gibson and Diane Sawyer just a couple months before that. And it was having the imposter syndrome of, well, how did all my years at ESPN, and even though I was a broadcast major, and you're just thinking that how am I in this position? Am I worthy? And Hurricane Katrina comes along, and I was in the studio in New York with Diane and Charlie that morning. I had lost contact. My father had passed away 9 months before. Mama was too ill to evacuate. So one sister decided to stay with her in our Biloxi home. We had a home closer to Keesler for their health care. Lost contact, and we're used to that. We're Southern. We lose contact during hurricanes. We don't panic. So I think, okay. And that morning doing the show, doesn't seem like it's that bad. If everybody remembers correctly, the morning of the storm, it was bad, but we didn't think it was that bad. But as the day wore on, we realized what was happening. And ABC sent me down the night to the Gulf Coast. And I got there, and I realized there's no way I can go on the air unless I find my family first. Now, I'm from the area, Sid, and I was with some New Yorkers in the crew. and they didn't know what was supposed to be in this area. I knew. I knew that I knew it was gone. I knew. And it wasn't just rubble to me, it was my old high school. It was like something that, of significance. I fortunately was able to find my mother with the help of a police officer, get to her home. Um, the roof was damaged, but it was standing. And after seeing what I had seen, I was just grateful it was standing. And I get into the house and mom was like, I said she was like in the back singing, "What a friend we have in Jesus." She's oblivious to what's going on in the world. Is happy. And my sister was there with her two daughters, and I wanted to stay in the house. And she said, "No, go do what you need to go. Go do your reporting." And so I made it back to the true story. Made it back to the live shot in the nick of time. And so again, I'm still the cub reporter with Diane and Charlie. So I want to button up. So I'm like, they say, "Robin, what can you tell us?" And I give them the blow by. "Well, when I arrived at the Mississippi Gulf Coast, da 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 da, back to you in New York." And then it was Charlie Gibson who said, "Robin, when you left here, you hadn't made contact with your family. Were you able to?" And Sid, I mean, the floodgates just opened. I just started bawling live on national television. And part of the reason was I knew that people were tuning in that morning, not knowing about their loved ones, and I knew what that felt like because that had been me. That had been me. And because of my vulnerability, people really understood the impact of Katrina, what had happened there, because there was a big thing about some government officials couldn't get in close enough because of the storm, but then they see myself and others broadcasters are like, "Well, how did they get there?" And it just really brought an awareness without being political, just by our presence, just by never just being there. And people adopted my hometown of the past. They helped rebuild Pastor Shannon, the Gulf Coast. And here we are 20 years later. And what it had taught me is like, I was out in Altadena after the fires there in California, doing live there, seeing people losing their homes, going to Asheville, North Carolina because of Hurricane Helene and that. I have more empathy, and I think that what it has brought me is an understanding and that people tune in when these things happen, and there's an expectation that I welcome, that Robin and GMA were going to be there because we were there in 2005 after Katrina. We saw how we were able to bring back help and bringing back that area. What I was most proud of is a lot of people were emphasizing New Orleans, which, yes, absolutely, after Katrina had its own devastation, Hurricane Katrina hit the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It did not hit New Orleans. What happened there in New Orleans was an aftermath of it and very tragic. But to be able to bring attention, and that's why it's so important to talk about Asheville and all these other outlying areas. Rolling Fork, Mississippi, here it is 2 years right now, 2 years in a day that tornado hit Rolling Fork. And I've been back numerous times. GMA has been back numerous times, and we've been able to help rebuild homes. Again, help, not doing it, but bringing the help. And more importantly, and I don't know if you realize, if you've been through storms, but you just want to be seen and heard. And you worry that after time passes that you're forgotten. And that's why at the 6-month mark, we're going to be in Asheville, North Carolina, in part to say we have not forgotten. And we're going to make sure that you know that you haven't been forgotten.
Well, it's been 6 months since it hit, and a lot of the world has moved on in terms of the news. I mean, what do you want people to know about Asheville and the other areas in Western North Carolina that got hit?
Thank you for asking. Asheville Rising. They're open for business. This is what I want people to know. They rely on tourism, and there are people who feel that, oh, and yes, there is still a lot of still, yes, but they want to get the message across that Asheville is open for business, and to show how the local people there, there's something about what we're so proud as Southerners. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay. but we're so proud, and we're like, we got this. We're gonna do it on our own, and in many ways we do. But it's really is showing people how they can be of assistance, how they can see how Asheville, and when I keep saying Asheville, I mean all that region around it, not just Asheville, what they are doing on their own, the resources that they are in need of, but primarily it's to show people that Asheville is rising, like Rolling Fork after 2 years, after Katrina. I want people to know that there are things that can be done to help these communities rebuild and be what they once were, or even better.
Well, so Robin, I just have one more question for you. What does it mean to you to be Southern?
Oh, what does it mean to be for me to be Southern? Let's see. I was born in Alabama, reared in Mississippi, went to college in Louisiana. I've worked in Nashville and Atlanta. I am a true Southern belle, and what it means for me, pride. Pride. Yes, do we have our differences, and can we, we can be the Hatfield and McCoy sometime. Yes, but you know what? There's such respect that we have as Southerners for one another, and it is a spirit. And to this day, I have been living in on the East Coast for 35 years, almost half my life. No, more than half my life. What carry the one, whatever. When people to this day say, "Robin, where are you from?" I say, "I am from the South." I mean, to this day, and I haven't lived there in forever. But I'm telling you, I still say it, and I still believe it, and it's part of my soul. And that's where my mom and my daddy are in the ground there. It'll always be home. It will always be home.
Well, we're so lucky to have you, and I hope you keep owning it for the rest of your days.
As long as you'll
And
have.
and I'm so glad that you're going back to Asheville and telling that story about that community and helping them get back on their feet because I think they need help from everybody.
They do, and they're doing a good job on their own, and we just want to kind of supplement what they're already doing. But we want people to know they're open for business, open for business. But thank you, Sid.
Well, Robin Roberts, it's been an honor to have you on Biscuits and Jam.
Jam on it, my friend.